What's up, guys? Welcome to another Wolfpack video with me, Dan, today covering our first Premier League fixture against Man City. And it was always going to be an hard one, wasn't it, this one? It was always going to be a challenge, let's be honest. Before we even kicked off, I said it was going to be probably a 3 or 4-0. And hopefully Wolves would get a goal and we'd just see something, because I don't think we saw anything in the pre-season as to say we were even playing the way Vitor wants us to play, and there was like next to no pattern of player identity, and it was getting a little bit concerning. But thankfully, even though we got beat 4-0 today, we're going to be talking all about what Wolves did right despite the loss. What did I see about Wolves today which hasn't made me angry? It's kind of made me feel a little bit optimistic in a weird way. But yeah, we'll talk about it in just a sec. First of all, like the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future videos. That really helps our algorithm get these videos out to as many people as possible. But yeah, so yeah, the start of this game, before we even started, there was a lot leading up to it, wasn't there? There was some beautiful scenes today for this man, Diogo Jota, and also his brother as well, who were unfortunately in a car accident, weren't they? And it's been really difficult, to be honest, because I always really kind of liked Diogo Jota. Even when he left Wolves, I always, even for Liverpool, I always really wanted him to do well, because he had injuries here and there, and it was just always really like, I don't know, I was just always really on his side, because he just seemed like such a really lovely person. And obviously that's elevated to massive degrees, because today at Molineux they had a tifo with Jota on, as you can see just there. And mate, honestly, that picture does zero justice. I've done a match vlog. I'm going to try and do match vlogs throughout this season, and I've got a match vlog, and I've got all of the footage of everything that happened. So stay tuned for that, because honestly, it was a spectacle. It really was a incredibly amazing tribute for not just a great footballer, but for a really great person. I mean, Ruben Neves was there to see it with his wife and kids as well. And I just feel like everyone came together, even City, you know, and all their fans as well. Everything just didn't matter for a minute. Like, football didn't matter. It was about the person, and dedicating a tribute to him, and you know, everything that he gave for Wolves during some really amazing times, you know, when we were in Europe and under Nuno and everything, and even in the Championship. Like, looking back, he was just an absolute marvel, really. It's mad how we kept him as long as we did, really, when you think about it. But yeah, I mean, Liverpool fans will join us today, and any other clubs that he's been at, or anyone of his family or friends, or anybody basically that knows of or knows Jota personally, all really came together today, and it was beautiful. So a massive shout out to the club and to Old Goldpack as well, who you know, put it together, the tifo, put together all of these amazing things. So just a huge shout out to those guys before we even get started with talking about the football or anything, really. Yeah, just honestly, it still really shocks me. Like, in my match vlog, you'll see soon, I'm really stumbled on my words a little bit. Like, seeing everything today, seeing the mural as well, that a really fantastic artist did, that I'll link in the description. His name's Dan, I think, but I don't know his full name off by heart, so I'm going to leave it in the description to, you know, obviously. But I feel bad really not being able to say his name, but the main thing is it looked incredibly good. Like, it's going to stay there now, you know, until the end of time, really, because I can't see those buildings going anytime soon, and it's so close to the Molineux as well. It's just a really beautiful thing. The collection of everything that's gone into this is just absolutely just fantastic, just really, really heartwarming. And it made me proud. It made me really, really proud to be a Wolves fan today. It really made me proud to just stand there and witness, what our club and what everybody who loves football and loves the people that make football special. It just really filled me up with great pride and joy. And yeah, it was sad. It was very, very sad. We're saying goodbye to one of the greats. I'll never ever forget what he's done for Wolves. So yeah, we'll get into the football now, but I really wanted to sort of say my part really, because I never got to do it really, and I never found it an opportune time to do it. And I feel like this is an amazing opportunity to do it, because I was there to witness this tribute today, and it felt fitting to be able to talk about it now. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it really. Just my thoughts go out to everybody involved, and it's a tragic event. And yeah, rest in peace. Absolutely rest in peace. So anyway, the football, which, let's be honest, came very secondary. It really did after that tribute. But I don't think anyone in the ground was really expecting anything from Wolves. I feel like everybody in a blue shirt, in a gold shirt, anywhere in that pitch today, just kind of assumed that we were going to get turned over by City quite comfortably. And what I can say is, I don't think we were turned over comfortably. I think the 4-0 flatters them a little bit, because there was only a few actions in which they really punished us. And some of them were the detriment to our defending, but some of it was just very, very slick, clever, patient, fluid football that we know from Pep's City side. Say what you want about them cheating or 115 this, 115 that, but what they've been able to achieve is amazing. And we bite the hand off anybody for that sort of success, wouldn't we really? It's easy to get jealous about it, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? If it was your club, you'd be the same. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that they kind of surprised us. They kind of surprised us, I think, today, because we came out in a very positive way. We played in a positive way today, even though we obviously made mistakes, and obviously they're going to cost you against a side like City. I feel like on the ball we were quite good. I felt like we held the ball up better. I felt like there was areas in which we spread the pitch more. We used the width more. We used our wing backs more. And we'll get into players right at the end. It's going to be a long video, as it always is. These are always quite long. I always consider these kind of more like a podcast, if anything, really. An extensive review, if you will, of a game, if you knew. But yeah, I feel like we surprised people because we were quite pragmatic on the press. Especially João Gomez and Andre. I feel like those two today really, really got stuck in. If anything was kind of a miss or it was a loose ball or anything, those two were hunting those balls down, and it was a joy to watch. It really was. It was the old, midfield two that we've seen and loved, since they've both become a very, very fruitful partnership. The only worry, obviously, is that there's no real backup in that area. And we've talked quite extensively, really, about the problems that there is at the moment with the club, and I don't think we should just kind of keep talking about it, to be honest, because it's we're completely powerless to it now. We can only really look at who's on the pitch and look at our manager and just see if they're actually interested. And what I'm trying to get around to is saying they did seem very interested today. They seemed really up for it today. There was a lot of positiveness around things. And I think, really, up until their goal, I don't honestly think that, City looked their best. You might argue that they didn't really have to get out of first gear, and potentially that's maybe the problem. But I do feel like I feel like Wolves gave him a good go. Do you know what I mean? I feel like, we had him running around. We had some pressure. We had the ball in there first. But remember as well, obviously it was taken down for offside, and it was a massive offside call. But from where I was sort of sat in the North Bank, I couldn't see what was wrong with it. I looked at it on the screen. I was like, well, there you go. I don't know why it took so long for him to decide he was way off Molineux. But yeah, let's talk about the game in general. We've kind of gone over some of the key points and stuff of how I feel like Wolves kind of surprised people, really. But let's talk about the stats. Let's talk about how we lined up, because I think this is quite important. This is very important, actually. We lined up in quite a obvious way. We've seen it in the preseason. We even saw it last season, the 3-4-3 formation. Where we've got joy out of it. We got some wins in the last season and stuff, but it started to sort of peter out a little bit. So I think we just needed different personnel and just a little bit of a rest, to be fair, from last season. And I feel like that we did all right in this system, and the players that were brought in, I don't think they completely let us down, really. So let's talk about who we played. Assar was in goal, Doherty, Agbadu, and Totti Gomez as the captain, by the way, in defence. Wolfer in as a debut, by the way, on the left side, and then Hoover on the right side. We then played João Gomez and Andre, we've already talked about. Bellegarde and Molineux I don't really class them as wingers. I'd class them behind Strand-Larsen, really, as 10s, but in this formation, it's got them quite wide. I don't really feel like they played wide at all, really. I feel like the people that played wide was Hoover and Muller. I do think Molineux got wide a little bit more than Bellegarde, perhaps, maybe, in the first half, but that's pretty much how we started the game and everything. And I wasn't too fussed about the formation, and to be honest, the personnel kind of confused me a little bit, because I really wanted to see the likes of Jean Arias and Fer Lopez. I wanted to see these ballers in action, because we saw some really, really positive things at them as 10s, but potentially maybe they just weren't ready to start the game today. And I think because you're against Man City, is it fair, like, throwing you in the deep end where all the other players, have got Premier League experience other than Wolfer? And I feel like, to be honest, I feel like Bueno should have started, really. I think that's the only area, really, where I'm a bit like, I don't really get what Vitor was doing. Everything else, though, I was fairly quite positive about, But yeah, let's talk about the stats. Let's talk about the first half. City had a load of possession, as they always do. That's their style of play, isn't it? They had a decent, 2-point XG to Wolves, essentially nothing. And it looks like on paper, like, no shots on target, all these and that. I don't think this is fair, though. This whole big chances here, I don't see how that was a 0 in the first half. I feel like Wolves had a few fairly big chances, really. Perhaps maybe they weren't big chances. Perhaps they were just, borderline half chances, maybe, But needless to say, like, some of the people needed to do better. Strand-Larsen had a few chances where he seemed to not really gamble, and I feel like that's a problem, really. I feel like held the ball up a little bit better today, but I don't feel like he doesn't seem hungry enough. He doesn't seem to get it in between his teeth. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't really seem to get the game by the scruff of the neck, really. Seems to sort of, I don't know, sort of rely on a perfect pass instead of, like, running into the space where, the ball might fall, gambling on an area. I don't feel like he does that enough, and I feel like if he did do that, I feel like Wolves would have maybe got a goal today. But you know what, it is what it is. We didn't expect to win this match, guys, at all. And Haaland gets the first goal, and we were getting punished. We were really getting punished wide. We were getting pulled apart, to be fair. And we were doubling up, and we were tripling up at some points on their wingers, but we just couldn't stop them, and they were sort of breaking through us, and we were defending fairly well up until the goal. Then the first goal happened, and then you just want them to go in. Then really, you want them to really go in at half time. You want him to go in half time 1-0 down, and we can sort of get back from that, because I feel like we showed some positive signs where a few changes and a few tweaks here. I feel like we could have done something today. I do feel like we'll go over everything actually after, but I do feel like the changes needed to happen a little bit sooner, in fairness. But yeah, Reynolds gets his debut goal. And to be fair with you, this is the frustrating thing about today, really, is that, yes, City have got quality, but you can't just give them opportunities, because they're gonna punish you. And I feel like a lot of the goals that followed after the first one, they were all really just mistakes, defensive mistakes, silly passing, and not really thinking about where the opposition is before you make a move, or just really naive play, really, from Wolves, and it cost us. It really, really cost us. And really, ultimately, that's kind of where we were punished, and we were punished enough to really think, you know what? If we keep going and we get a goal, at least there's something to build on. And we didn't get the goal ultimately. And we could talk about the second half, but I do feel like in the second half, I feel like Wolves came into it a little bit when we kicked off, and it was very much the same. And then they obviously eventually score again, a couple of goals, and there's some silly things going on, really. Again, it's just poor defending, poor positioning as well. I feel like sometimes we were pulled around too much and sort of manipulated a little bit too much off the ball, and it really unsettled us. And that's basically what happened, really. I mean, they eventually got all 4 goals, and it was game over. But what was really cool was, I stuck around right until the end, because I thought like, they deserved it, because pre-season was really bad. It was really, really bad, because I didn't see any patterns of play. I didn't see any positivity. I didn't see any key players doing well. And I think at times today, even though we were beaten comfortably, so fair play to City, I do feel like at times we did show some quality, and there were some individual performances which surprised me. So yeah, let's just go into player scores, I think, because there's not really a lot more to talk about the game. It was one of those where, on another day with more quality, I feel like Wolves could have punished City, because they were out without some key players. I mean, they didn't even have their main goalkeeper in goal. Do you know what I mean? And at times he looked like he spilt the ball a bit as well. And I feel like at times we needed to really press for it and punish them a little bit. But it's one of them things at the end of the day. I didn't expect anything from this anyway. So we live and learn, and it is what it is. But yeah, player scores. I mean, they've got Sarr down as a 4.2 here. I don't think he can do much for the goals, really, to be fair. And I don't really think he's to blame for any certain mistakes. I feel like the defence in front of him was really the poor. And I feel like, Agbadou's in red. I think that's the worst game I've ever seen for Agbadou. He just seemed to be a little bit cocky with the football at times. Like, he seemed to feel like the ball, he seems like he's in slow motion, which obviously if you're like a Messi or something, that's fantastic, because you can manipulate the ball and get past your opponent. But he got caught out too many times today for me, and looked a bit complacent. I think he needs telling from Vitor to be a little bit more sturdy, and I think if he doesn't start doing that, I'd put Santi Bueno there, I would, to be fair. Or if Mosquera's fit, I'd put him there and just rest Agbadou until you go through the training and trying to get it down in his head, really, that he's a fantastic defender. He's a very, very good defender, but for me today, he just, very complacent and a little bit sheepish on the ball sometimes. Totti Gomez as the captain today, I don't think he was fantastic either, to be fair. I think he was a little bit better than Agbadu. Sometimes I don't really like what he was doing, though, where he was collecting the ball and he was trying to release it to the wing-back, who was pretty much right next to him, and he already had like 2 City players on him. I think sometimes you've just got to think, you know what, we're not going to beat this press. Let's just reform and go again. So you either take that back to Sarr and he kicks it long, or you kick it long yourself, or you find a midfielder somewhere. And sometimes I feel like every single time he touched the ball, it was just, right, where's my wing back? And I don't think Wolfer really settled with that at all, really. I don't think Wolfer had such a bad game. I feel like as a debut goes against Man City, you know, you're going to get pelters as a new player, aren't you? But I feel like at times he looked good in terms of being in the right place at the right time. His delivery sometimes wasn't too bad either. The only thing I worry about him is not very technically gifted. Like, he's not very good at getting past a player, you know, like your 8 Norris was. So, you know, and to some degree, I suppose Semedo wasn't really great at that either, but sometimes I feel like Semedo was a little bit more intelligent with what he did with the ball at his feet, and I feel like we've probably not seen enough from him, to be fair. He's probably very nervous on his first game. I feel like a few games down the line we can really start to address him as a player, really. I don't think it's fair to do that just yet. Doherty, honestly, I thought he was fantastic today. He was our best defender by far, in really, really good areas where, to be honest, he got into some positions where Hoover was vacant, and I feel like them two worked really well today. In fact, that whole side did. I actually think even Munetsi, that whole side, Doherty, Hoover and Munetsi, manoeuvring the ball to get past and get us into some dangerous areas. I think those 3 did really well today. Already talked about Joe Gomez and Andre, and I think that both of them, I mean, are fantastic players, and honestly, if one of those gets injured, I really think we're in some trouble, because they were fantastic today. I mean, probably deserved green scores, really. I don't really agree with the 6 scores. I feel like they were 7s and 8s today. I think they were really, really, really good at maintaining the ball and keeping us on the front foot, really. Bellegarde, I thought, at times just didn't look as good as Munetsi. Like, sometimes I felt like Munetsi was a little bit more clever in his running. Obviously, you know, he got caught off a few times offside, so I suppose that counters my argument, really. But I think sometimes, even though he did get caught offside a little bit, there were times where he didn't, and he was in some very, very good areas. And like I just said, linking up with Hoover and Doherty, if he vacated that space, I thought that was a really, really key area today. And I think that's why Doku's got a shit score, really, because I don't really think they had much sort of go, that side. But on the side where Wolfer was and Totti Gomez was, I feel like that was really where we got punished a lot, really. You know, that whole side, really, I feel like they were really digging it in and showing quality, which we knew we'd get anyway. Strand Larsen, better than pre-season, but he needs to, like I just said, he needs to really start to gamble on an attacking area. I feel like sometimes he just wants it at feet. He wants the perfect pass so he can tap it in, and sometimes you ain't going to get that. Sometimes you've got to make a pass your own. You know what I mean? You can't just expect everything to be sent straight to you. You need to get about more. You need to claim the ball better. I feel like sometimes he was quite good in the air today, which was nice. I didn't see that in the pre-season, you know. And to be fair to you, he did show a lot of character. Sorry, very tired. He did show a lot of character. I'll be honest. At times, I was very, very happy with the way he really tried to get the crowd going and everything. And I feel like a goal will really, really help Strand Larsen. I feel like they'll start to flood in then, because I do feel like we've got quality around him, and I do feel like we've got quality in this side, and I do feel today yes, we were poor because we lost 4-0 to a very good Man City side, who I think actually are going to challenge Liverpool this season. I really do. I literally couldn't pick a bad City player out, really. Even Doku, and that's probably the worst player on the pitch for them. And even I think he was pretty good, to be honest. Really weird to see Aït-Nouri in another team. I actually think they limited his play a little bit. Sometimes it looked like he had the beating of Doherty, but he was just like looking over at Pep thinking, actually, that's not my instruction. And I feel like under Wolves, he would have gone for that. But maybe that's what we needed from Aït-Nouri. Maybe we did rely too heavily on him getting forward. And potentially maybe that's what got to a point where he was caught out defensively. Because I don't really think he was today. So, you know, we live and learn as fans, don't we? You know what I mean, of our team. But yeah, it was a hard one today. Obviously, you never want to lose, and you never want to lose more than 2 goals. Really, I mean, after 2 goals, I always think it's always you kind of like done, aren't you? Really, you may as well just go home. Really, it's very, very hard to get back after 3 goals. And yeah, I feel like at times we're very complacent. You know, certain individuals really need to work on and brush up keeping the ball better in the defence. But I did see some positives. I saw our 10s working really hard. I saw Strand Larsen working a little bit better than the pre-season, which obviously it doesn't really say much. He still needs to be he needs to be fantastic. He needs to be, you know, our number 9, because that's all he is now. We haven't got anyone else. So he needs to really, really shape up and become, you know, that guy. Oh, sorry. And yeah, we saw quality in the midfield again, didn't we? But kind of repeating myself, aren't I? I think like the substitutions are worth talking about, though, because I feel like once Vitor made some substitutions, I do think they were a little bit late, by the way. But John Arias, Rodrigo Gomez, Fer Lopez, and Hugo Bueno, and Hwang Yi-chan, I think all 5 of those are very positive substitutions. And I feel like earlier in the game, before we conceded as many as we did, I think that would have changed the game around, because John Arias gets on the ball straight away and creates magic and nearly, you know, gets us a goal. Fer Lopez at times looked a bit... I'm not sure. Maybe he just needed a lot more time to prove himself, and you know, I think he needs to start. To be honest, I wasn't massively sold on Bellegarde today. Who else? Hugo Bueno, when he came on, you know, I just think he's better than Wolfer. I do. I feel like he's more experienced and he can beat these man. Do you know what I mean? A few times he really, you know, he really had the City defenders thinking, fuck, I hope he doesn't get past me. And no other player really on that side did that. So when Hugo Bueno came on, we saw a different side to Wolves. Just wish they were a little bit sooner. But it is what it is, guys. Look, I'm positive today because I'm proud of my team. You know, I'm proud of my city. I'm proud of my club. I'm proud of everyone, really. I mean, the owners can do one, but it is what it is. We've talked about those till the cows come home, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon, are they? So I suppose there's no real point talking over them, is there really? And if they make more mistakes, I'll talk about it, but I'm not just going to keep going over the same ones, because let's be honest, guys, it ain't going to change anything. And I'd rather us get behind the team now, because it's not their fault, really. You know what I mean? It's our owners at the end of the day, and if they're not going anywhere, then ultimately we need to deal with the chips we've been dealt. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Might have been a little bit of a longer one, but I really want to talk about the whole Jota thing today, because that was really, really special. Make sure you're liking the video, subscribing to the channel if you're new, hitting that notification bell so you don't miss future videos, because we are going to be making a lot more videos on this channel, including match vlogs. I'm going to be actually editing that and hopefully bringing that out tomorrow. So look forward to that, because there was some really, really cool things, and obviously I'm a season ticket holder now, so I'm actually in the North Bank and I've got a seat of my own. So that's fantastic, because it means that, you know, the one thing about match vlogs, which I always kind of struggled with is having the people around me, you know, because I've got social anxiety. I don't want to piss anyone off. Do you know what I mean? But if I get to know the people around me on the seat that I'm always in, then potentially my social anxiety isn't going to really sort of matter too much. And I think that's what happened today. I was quite chill about it, really, to be honest. And the device I use as well is very, you know, it's not intrusive or anything. It's very small and, you know. But yeah, that's here or there. Hopefully you enjoy that when it comes out, guys. I'm going to spend some time editing that for you guys. And yeah, until the next one, guys, I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye-bye.